This video and all other videos on this channel for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and I think I'm going to title this one something along the lines of "This market is weird." And I want to show you why I'm thinking this. I'm just going to point at a few things that I think are very strange. And from there, we're going to look at some Bitcoin charts as always and see what's going on. And then, of course, we'll point at some cycles that are incoming in the next few sessions for a bunch of different markets. And I'll show you how I'm planning to handle those. So the first thing I wanted to point at is Bitcoin's Hyperwave. Okay, so this may or may not occur. We don't know. We could certainly see a top come in and then break down before entering phase 4. For people that keep asking me about, can we have an update for Hyperwave? This is it. There's not much to say because it's a weekly time frame. It's quite slow moving, but we are aiming, according to Hyperwave theory, for around 170k, 175k by February. Any pullback to support and a touch of phase 3 is, according to Hyperwave theory, a nice opportunity to buy. And of course, if this thing is to enter phase 4, and we don't know that it will, but if it does, then it tells us we might be about to get pretty insane not too far away. Now, at the same time that this is occurring, this is where things for me start to get a bit strange. Yesterday I put out this, I've been quite vocal in selling out a MicroStrategy and pointing at the setup multiple times and saying it doesn't look good, okay? Now, it's a market, anything can happen, but I put out yesterday, if MicroStrategy puts in a lower high here, it's your final chance to get out. Anything other than a higher high and it's over. And what we've got for MicroStrategy is a lead-in angle, a second angle, a third angle, and then it went fourth in a near vertical fashion, okay? And since then, this is exactly what I was talking about, okay? Hyperwave target completed at 5:30. I tweeted about that a couple of days before it happened, I think. Then we got the fourth angle violation, and so far breakdown, retest, and looking for resumption to the downside. And I've been talking about this with members. There's always an outside chance. We do see a new high printed above this high. But if we don't, okay, then this will just be textbook divergence between MicroStrategy, which always leads Bitcoin, and Bitcoin itself. And so it's very, very curious to me that people are still epically bullish here on MicroStrategy, when there's, at least in my experience, an 85% probability what we see from here is a touch of this trend line and then a breakdown, okay? And this will lead Bitcoin's top. And for a lot of people that are new to the markets, they don't really understand this, but this is just exactly what MicroStrategy does with Bitcoin. It forward prices the run up as it did here, okay? And you can see Bitcoin continued to make higher highs whilst MicroStrategy made lower highs. This is the divergence. And this is what I keep pointing at for MicroStrategy. Not only are Camel's angles violated, suggesting that that was indeed the top and there's no further highs for MicroStrategy, but this fractal is just copy and pasted from the prior bull run, okay? From back here. And so far, it looks almost identical. You know, it doesn't have to play out like this. We could maybe see a new higher high, but on a balance of probabilities, this is the most likely outcome, okay? So that's the first thing that's weird. It's like, why, if we're going to have a long and extended bull market for the crypto and Bitcoin markets, is MicroStrategy potentially about to confirm a breakdown? Now, let's be really clear. I can't be 100% sure of myself that that is the top for MicroStrategy until we get a breakdown of this third angle right here. Okay, so until such time as we see something like this and a breakdown, then I can't have 100% confidence in my assessment. Okay, it's a market. It is still possible this thing makes a higher high. But I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen here. I've seen this loads and loads and loads of times before, and I've never seen it recover to a new high. I've only ever seen it do something like this and then break down. And again, if it does, okay, all the signs will be there. Fourth angle violation, according to Camel's system, that's the top. Hyperwave completed at 5:30. The fractal looks exactly like it looked the prior time around. And of course, the prior time around, it showed divergence with Bitcoin. It told us the top was coming soon for Bitcoin. And as if all that's not enough, if I go on to Hyperwave here and flick it to the weekly time frame, okay, we've completed the fourth phase with the target met in the expected window, and Hyperwave theory says close a weekly candle below any of the phase lines and the trend is over. Now, it's got until today to recover this trend line at about $459, okay? And any close below that confirms that the Hyperwave has completed and we're now targeting $35 MicroStrategy, okay? Now, we'll see, right? Who knows? Who knows? But all of this is kind of strange to me because against a sea of investors and new people showing up to the space and some top stuff that I'm going to show you in a minute, okay, the reality is this has always been a barometer. MicroStrategy has always given us the heads up, okay? It has given us the heads up in every circumstance. It tells us when Bitcoin's going to break out. It tells us when it's going to top. It tells us when it's going to enter a bear market. It tells us when it is going to bottom, and it does the whole thing all over again. So right now, it's hard for me to look at this and say something weird isn't going on. okay? Because MicroStrategy is telling us, okay, it's at least telling me, I know a lot of people don't want to believe it, but it's telling me that this move is over. And if that's true, then it's only reasonable for me to expect divergence to continue to play out. Okay, so that's weird for me. And like I said, it's got a lot of work to do to actually recover this and stay in a valid hyperwave here. So that's pretty weird, right? This is where the weirdness starts. Now, at the same time, talking valuation risk here in the middle of a melt up is like mentioning hangover risk to a drunk in the bar, okay? Nobody cares or will listen, just give us more free drinks. Now, let's take a brief moment to have a look what's going on here. Okay, this is the stocks to GDP ratio, just printing a new high at 207.77%. No matter which valuation metric you use, PE, CAPE, price to book, okay, price to cash flow, all of these are significantly higher than the 30-year average. US stocks are now trading at a record 60% premium to international peers based on the forward PE. Again, that's not nothing. Down the bottom, we're exceeding that of the GFC levels. The S&P 500 price to book is at the 2000 dot-com bubble levels, okay? But apparently, no one wants to have this conversation. Nobody cares. It's just like everything's going up, right? So again, it doesn't have to be a doom post. It doesn't have to be me saying the end of the world is nigh or anything like that. But all of this is kind of weird to me. It's kind of weird that historically speaking, these kind of things were alarming, and now all of a sudden nobody seems to care. So it gets a little bit stranger for me here because, like I said, we've got valuations at insanity levels, never seen before in some cases, such as the market cap to GDP ratio, which is, of course, the Buffett indicator. We've got Bitcoin that looks really healthy, like it wants to put in a hyperwave and complete a huge move to massive, massive numbers against the backdrop, remember, of the narrative being super strong at the moment. Okay, everyone's really bullish. Nation states are adopting it, strategic reserves. That's all perfect. But yet we've got MicroStrategy, which always leads, telling us that it may well be over. And it makes me think that this whole assessment of an earlier top is actually correct. For those who have been here a while, the moment we've all been waiting for has patiently arrived. However, it's probably going to be over before we know it. The coming weeks and possibly a few months are everything. I really think this is true. I don't see how this market can continue. And I even see a bunch of very experienced traders, I'm not calling anyone out by name, but people that have been in the markets a long time, people that have good track records, people that are right more often than wrong, even they have started to pivot from being cautious about their approach to markets to just flaming anyone that even brings up anything remotely negative. I've noticed people are starting to get very, very bullish and very, very euphoric and greedy here. And that's, you know, like I said, even extending to traders that have a good track record, that have my respect as traders, and that have been in the markets for a long, long time. But again, this whole idea makes a lot of sense. When we know where to look, okay, this could be very much over in a flash. And if it is, MicroStrategy has already shown us to expect that divergence, as I've said a million times, okay? So there are some warning signs here, not to mention, like I said, the valuations are sky high. All of this is kind of weird. Then when we go over to the CBBI, okay, we're at 80. Now, if you go down to the chart, you can see that a reading above about, let's say 95, okay, gives us extreme confidence that the top for Bitcoin is very, very close. But historically speaking, it took weeks to a couple of months at the most to run from where we are now, this 80-ish level, up to the mid-90s. So again, we've got another piece of confluence here that suggests we might be no more than 2 months away from seeing a 95 print on the CBBI, which historically coincided with major tops for Bitcoin. And yet, again, I point at the fact many, many people out there are kind of mocking and jeering and laughing at the idea that this cycle might run shorter than expected. Many people have started to say things like this thing is going up only forever and there's going to be no more 4-year cycle and TA will break. Okay, this is something I keep running into. TA will break. And now to continue on with this theme of being weird, okay, I made this thread of things that will be very obvious Bitcoin top signals in hindsight. I wanted to run through this, okay? So number one, Coinbase made it into the top 10 apps for the first time. I've been covering this extensively on the channel. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to top right away, but it just means people have shown up to the market that probably don't know anything about markets. Okay, we also saw nation states flexing their P&L. This is El Salvador pointing at how much money they've made. Okay, so whatever. We also saw Coinbase give free Bitcoin to every person at a Warriors game. And by the way, FTX did the exact same thing 2 months before the prior cycle top in 2021. Of course, we had the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, created, right? This is an official, this is an official government department, okay? Doge. This is where we are. We had that Hawk Tour girl shouting out Michael Saylor, and then she creates this pump and dump rug thing, right, or whatever. And then on top of that, now we've got, as of yesterday, Paris Hilton coming out and saying, next stop, 11111 Bitcoin, okay? So this is the kind of thing that you do see near tops. It doesn't have to mean we have to start calling tops now. It doesn't mean I'm dumping my entire stack or anything like it, okay? As always, we focus on the charts. But when we do focus on the charts, there's a lot of mixed messages, as you can see. And if we were to top now, okay, I'm not saying we will, but let's go to my Hyperwave chart. Let's say, instead of this big blow off top move, we got a little bit of a pop and a breakdown, and then we entered a bear market of some sort, okay? We would be able to look back at this time here and say, well, yeah, I mean, all of this stuff was going on, and for some reason, no one cared, right? It's just something that to me seems strange. It seems strange because if we are still very early, if there is still loads and loads and loads of time left, many, many months ahead, then how much more extreme is all of this stuff going to get, right? How much more of this have we got to endure if there is still another year or so left in this bull run? So that's my presentation on how weird the markets are at the moment. I think what we'll do now is focus on the job at hand, which is figuring out what's going on with Bitcoin. So a couple of things to point out, okay? We had this big Darth Maul wick. We've run the stops both to the up and the downside. Wholly speaking, I don't really think it changes anything. I think we've still got a half cycle low. We're still only halfway through the cycle. I still kind of expect a big push up into around day 45 or 50, and then we'll get a decline into a daily cycle low. I'll show you that in a second. But first I wanted to point at this. Okay, every time we get a spike in volume at the bottom on a wick, right? On a wick, 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 you would have done well to look for further upside there. So is this time going to be different? I don't think so personally. When we hop into the Bitcoin chart, okay, I know a lot of people got really upset about breaking 100K and then losing it. And I guarantee you a bunch of leveraged traders that don't know how to manage risk got wiped out on this wick. Okay, but the reality is, if we zoom out and look at my yellow squiggle, it doesn't look too far from reality. So I continue to stand with this idea until it proves me wrong. I see a bunch of people calling the top here, and I don't agree with that at all. So for now, I think let's just give it some space. We'll see if we can catch a weekend pump. And we'll keep an eye on these crypto stocks in the members section because, again, you know, these should start to confirm or deny what's really happening under the hood. They've been doing that the whole cycle, so I don't see why that would stop now. Gold, I am still looking for one final flush lower into a weekly cycle low, and then we should get a breakout and we should be able to catch what I believe will be a nice big strong push into Q1 of next year for the metals and the miners, so looking forward to that. And for the stock market, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? We seem to be, largely speaking, moving according to the expectation of the cycles. We're going to find out if we're going to get a trend line break. If we do, then Camel's going to be taking some profit and becoming even more insufferably bearish. But for now, long and strong, and we'll see what the market gives. Same with the Dow Jones, right into that neighborhood where if it's going to top, we'd expect it to do so soon. But it is Friday. They do love to crush the VIX on Friday. So we'll see if we can get one final push to the downside, and then I think we'll be looking to get some hedges on there. For the yields, we still say, tell that to the bond market. What else is there to say? And the Dixie is right in that neighborhood now to start to find a cycle low. We will see, right? We will see how much merit there is to this. I see a whole heap of people calling for this. That doesn't make any sense from a cycle perspective. We would at least need to see a cycle low, a left translation, and a fail if we are going to get any kind of downside move from the Dixie. On a balance of probabilities, though, I think it's much more likely that we find a cycle low and then start to move higher. And again, this all fits in the idea that things are weird at the moment, okay? Why is it every man and his dog is calling for a weaker dollar? Why is it everyone is calling for an extended bull market? But from a cycle perspective, the Dixie is almost ready to start to tear. At the same time, this whole thing looks exactly like a textbook example of Wyckoff accumulation, sign of strength, emergence to phase E. So there's so many weird things going on right now, and I do my best not to get distracted by them in terms of trading, right? You know, we've got plenty of positions open, they're all sat in profit, we just keep sitting back and letting the market do the work for us. But based on everything I've shown you, okay, things just keep getting weirder and weirder, and apparently nobody cares. So I'm your boy Camel. I hope you're doing well in life. If you're a level 3 member, look out for the video for you guys tomorrow. If you are interested in the weekend's deep dive, I've got some new data to show you there, and that should be quite interesting as always. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend. Much love. Cheers. Bye.
Camel Finance, he's the man to see. Rocking the markets with his contrarian spree. Trades like a pro, no fear, no shame. Sticking to his guns in his money game. He's a badass, oh yes indeed. Camel Finance got the markets key, taking a stormy